Yes, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. My name is Rotimi Tire, and I would like to welcome you officially. We're streaming from Lagos to Nigeria, West Africa to Africa, and the entire world. The Good Morning Education Show takes place Mondays all through to Sundays. On Mondays to Fridays, we are live 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. West African time, and you can catch us anytime within those days. And then on Saturdays, we have a bit of a difference in timing. We have it from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. West African time as well. And on Sundays, we have the weekend special, which is actually from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. West African time. That's the Good Morning Education Show. And it's such a pleasure to be here to host and to moderate the sessions from time to time. On the Good Morning Education Show, we talk about issues of and matters around the learning world, the learning ecosystem, the education system as well, issues within around the education business, and we try to make sure that we bring experts with different views, with different perspective, to the thought process and to the subject matter of the day. So we have fantastic views that we just tackle to take care of the things that we believe that will be options and views around the subject matter of the day. And today is not going to be an exception. We're going to be having a great time. We're going to be talking about an interesting topic today. Um, and that topic pretty much the topic is speaking about education that matters. And of course, if you're familiar with the show, you notice that we start off our show um, with what I would call our headlines, and the headlines we just take news across Africa, and most times just deliberate on matters arising and look at our thoughts or just to bring you to be updated. And then from there, we have the review. And of course, we welcome your contributions as guests and friends. We welcome your contributions. Please do not hesitate to let us know your thoughts about the comments and all the things about the subject matter in particular. And then, of course, beyond that, we also want you to share with us um, your own questions, not just comments on our conversation as well. Remember, this is the Good Morning Education Show, and we're such an excited crew to have you here. Today, we're going to go straight to the headlines, and let's have the very first one. Expert calls for professional bodies to certify teachers. And that's the very first one. So we have that um, as a headline. Experts call for professional bodies to certify teachers. This headline is coming on the heels of from the Guardian. To improve the standard of education in the country and reposition the teaching profession for greater task of educating the next generation of Nigerians. An education consultant and managing director of Michelle and Anthony Consulting, Femi Adulo, has stressed the need to transform teaching by setting up professional bodies to certify and boost their prestige. To him, education in Nigeria suffered as a result of lack of quality of teachers. He observed that based on his low prestige and poor pay, students hardly show interest in becoming teachers, noting that 90% of teachers in Nigeria never really plan to be one. Adulo said that they either exhaust their search for dough and later embrace teaching as a last resort. Adulo said until Nigerians make education to be at par with other professional courses, with chartered bodies administering them, many exceptional students will not venture into the profession. He said for many, they will have the confidence to embrace teaching once they know that after certification they can start teaching with a basic salary of 150,000. How government, how can government be the one controlling registration and qualification of teachers? If there are bodies set up by professionals, there will be standards and many will aspire to. Well, this and many more we've seen, and well, we understand what it's trying to say, and we hope and believe that the necessary regulatory bodies have taken this as well, you know. So this is one of those things we believe that with time we begin to see major improvement. So we're moving on quickly to the next headline. And the next headline says why Nigerian universities are poorly rated. That's that's coming from the Guardian as well. While why Nigerian universities are poorly rated by Bogoro. The Executive Secretary of Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TET Fund, Professor Suleiman Bogoro, has blamed poor ranking of Nigerian institutions on politicization of education, decaying infrastructure, corruption, poor funding by other arms of government, and proliferation of less than competitive universities. He has also identified poor attitude of lecturers to teaching and research, low research output, low performance on international linkages and collaboration. Other factors hindering effective ranking of the nation's institution. While describing the performance of the nation's university as below expectation, Bogoro, who spoke in Lagos at the opening session of a two-day workshop organized as part of the agency's effort towards improving performance of Nigerian ivory tower on the global ranking tables, said the situation calls for reflection and action from government, academics, as well as stakeholders. The workshop with the theme Requirements for Strengthening Nigerian Universities for Higher Global Ranking was coordinated by immediate past Vice Chancellor of Lagos State University, Professor Olarinwaju Fagbon. Bogoro in his address said today in the global ranking of universities, Nigerian institutions are not doing well and are not known to have been, according to the World Ranking Review, out of about four selected different rankings across the world, universities from United States, United Kingdom, and Europe generally dominate the list. Worthy of note is the increasing performance of Asian universities in the world ranking table. Um, you see, these things are are expected, as I would say, and the reason is because this is not the time for us to point fingers, accusing fingers in particular. This is time for us to make sure that we are doing our own best. You know, are doing our own best. We are having our own attention, as it were. Yeah. So this is very important. Very, very, very important that we recognize that this is what's happening in our part of the world. Um, Thinking about the rankings and all that. Well, I would want to even say that there are some things that we might not even stress ourselves on. You know, we might not stress ourselves on, but we can easily get to still make sure that we are on the right path. You know, welcome, Dr. Daring. Good morning. How are you? Your mic is muted.
Morning. How are you
Yeah,
doing today?
I'm very well. And we're talking about one of the headlines and saying that the head of Tech Fund is saying why Nigerian varsities are poorly rated. When you have this ranking, you talk about the universities that are highly ranked across the world. Most of them are within US and Europe, and sometimes even we are now beginning to see Asian countries, rise up in the ranking system. So, what would you say? What is your take on this?
Look, we can't. I would say we can't always assume that we are being sabotaged or something. There is a clear distinction, as in a clear distinction between a university here and a university there. What is a basic for them there for any university is probably what you find in one of those universities in Nigeria where we say, oh, that university is top. Maybe you say, oh, a covenant is well equipped, right? So when you're talking about universities in Nigeria now, they say, yes, you can maybe they can be at par with universities in terms of the facility infrastructure that they can be at par. You will probably say Covenant University. And guess what? This particular university, even if I didn't attend it, you can distinguish a Covenant graduate amongst, like, when you're interviewing people. There is a distinction. This is not a clear of case of we are trying to. No, that is just the truth. They, like, you could see it in their attitude and what they deliver when they come out of the university. So the truth is, we are we are not well equipped. Teachers are not motivated. Like, there are a lot of factors that are playing in our universities here. So there is no way you can't put garbage in and expect some miracle to come out. And when you come talk about rankings, of course, you continue to think about it in terms of the kind of graduates you produce, because at the end of the day, I always think about school like you set up a school so that you can have people who are finished, as in who are finished in every aspect. That is, it is your product, it is your results that justifies your ranking. And if you are looking at the rank, the product that you are getting out of the university, are we supposed to rank high? So, and of course, in terms of physical infrastructure or the facilities, we are still lacking. Come to, like, let me say a chemistry, this thing, you are even at the federal university, you are having to probably ration maybe this chemical. Don't, let's use this thing. Let's join two people in the lab together. As in, even like, so it's it doesn't just, when you're seeing things like that, and this is, for me, I remember that even at PhD level, you will go to the laboratory and there are some equipment that are off limit to you. You can't, like, use them because they will say, oh, you know, you can't operate. We have just one that is working. You can't touch them. And this is at the PhD level. Whereas I will do the same thing in the UK, and it is a year one that was teaching me how to use that equipment. And me, I was there fidgeting, saying, hey, if I touch it before it will spoil. Do you understand? They say, no, like, it just, if it damages, we'll get the technician. Like, see the difference. So, like, there's a clear distinction. There's no way we can keep doing this and expect that we'll rank high. It is what we have. What we have is what we have. And if nothing is being done about it, we are going to keep coming on the lower part of the ladder. And in fact, it's regrettable that it's even diminishing itself. It's not like we're even increasing on that ranking.
And I think that from what you said, there's also likely going to be a culture factor because just that illustration you gave is almost like a practical scenario because some people they don't have this culture of allowing people to use up things because just feel things are scarce. So it's not as if who knows, it might be possible that the university has funding for those chemicals. It just someone just feels that those stress don't use, or maybe they're thinking of when they will go back to replenish. But it's just I think, and I don't know what you think about this. I think that if we will be honest with ourselves, I think the first thing we should not even focus on any ranking. Just accept your social reality. Let's try to turn things around. Leave ranking first. Ranking for me, things we can as much as can, in the immediate. Then we'll begin to look at ranking because talking about ranking, ranking will not take place in isolation. ranking is dependent on so many variables, like you said, Dr. Day. So I totally would even subscribe to our headache is not Nigeria top 10 universities in the world or top 20, top 50, or top 100. I don't think that's our real headache.
It's not. It's not our headache at all. We should even focus on getting one thing right before we start
So you
ranking.
agree with me? You agree with me? Yeah. Olushola Olumide, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Rotimi. Good morning, Darren. Nice to be here once again.
Thank you. Another headline says 250 million. Ogun Monarch begs Davido to help out of school children. Dr. J, what to
You know, this is a typical case of entitlement mentality. And I always say, like, an average Nigerian has it, or an average, maybe even African. Look, it is it is your prerogative to do what you want with your money. And when I see people try to take advantage of a situation, because I'm sure maybe in their mind now, they are thinking, oh, after all, I got it free, like from people, like it didn't, But the bottom line is, it is his money. If he chooses to keep it or even use it to do his birthday party, I wouldn't fault him for it. He has enough social capital to have been able to raise that kind of money in the number of days he did, right? So, but if he likes, he should carry the money and go and bury it. Like, you shouldn't be in that space where somebody is trying to make you feel like this is a greater good or something that you should use your money for. So if he has already, and he came out publicly to declare that this is what he's using the money for, he released a public statement. He even talked about the professors and the doctors that are going to be, five of them that are going to be in charge of disbursing this money. And he already said it, there is a foundation they're going to this thing, and all the motherless baby in Nigeria based on the capacity. This guy has declared this is what the 250 million is going to. So why are you trying to? It's not like you're openly making him say, "Oh, this 250 million, what you've done with it is not okay. Come and use it to do this project of out of school. Like that is what is important to you. Come on, as in people should just stop all this kind of things. Like it's entitlement mentality, as far as I'm concerned. They should stop it.
I agree with you. A lot of people do not even recognize, right, what it is. And this is why you see politicians also get under pressure because now it's a monarch saying something. So he's pulling the weight of the traditional stool, looking at the Yoruba factor of respect. And probably if the 250 million is not going to be, maybe he should bring out from his pocket. And this is why also people like Davido or what we call accidental philanthropists, once it's not enough, and I'm sure Darren, you know what I'm saying. It's not enough to want to do good. You must be able to follow structure and corporate governance for yourself, so that other people dependent or interfacing with you will also have to be subjected to that. So being wealthy and being rich is not totally automatic that you are entitled to the person's wealth. Minus that, there's a way they should be able to call on. It shouldn't be Davido they should call on. The person of Davido is going to be different from the instrumentality of what he would disburse his philanthropy move on. And that's why sometimes people write for grants, people write for sponsorship to organizations, stating their request, stating the objective. Okay, so help out of school children. Okay, is it on a foundation of the monarch? Is it with the Ministry of Education? Is it just to dish out money? How do we really know how we are helping out of school children? You understand? There's a conduit to these things. But if we're not careful, they do probably out of the showmanship might also fall prey to add money or just to, and that becomes an interference. Because if one monarch can do it, that's when you now find that every other person start pulling their weight. You know, I think that some people even say it's tribal, it's tribalistic, you know. So I don't know. Olushola, maybe you have something to say on that.
Thank you, Ruchi. Like Darren has said, is it that he should divert this one or he should go abeg so that he can fulfill the demand of the monarch? I think even maybe on his own, he has helped people, lifted other people, and whatever. It's not a matter of begging him to do this or to do that. The people we need to beg, we know them to do the right thing. So we should put on whose shoulder it rests to help out of school children and to better our lot. So as he has chosen to spend the money this way, they should allow EBS said they want to turn it into a perpetual beggar, begging all around in order to fulfill the demand. After fulfilling this one and somebody else will beg him, he should help the destitute and those who are homeless. They should please go to the right court and beg the people that needs to be begged, not
Right.
this young man. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And then Archbishop to Asu, don't embark on another strike. Derry, this is your constituent.
Like they sh- like they shouldn't, because if I have to talk from a personal, they should just please let me like defend my thesis and get out. But that is as in why I say they shouldn't really is people have no idea. People have no idea how mentally draining it is for the students who are in school to keep, you know, they've not even gone on strike. But I'm sure for someone that is probably in year three, final year, all those penultimate years of finals, you are probably thinking you are afraid. You are in school, and every time you see the headline, you are afraid because you are not certain if it's going to be bluff or something that is real. So it's more like you are constantly living in the fear of, oh, ASU is going to go on strike. That is a valid thing that lives in the mind of every student. Now, the point is, ASU has been going on strike for, I don't know, maybe since I was in year one. In fact, I entered year one with ASU strike or something. Like this has been going on. And I look at it. What if we go on strike now, given it is the end of the year or whatever, whatever? Most likely, when government starts the new year, before they even see, they try to start attending to people. It's always like, let me say, March for anything, anything that is going to. So if they've not been included in this budget that they passed, that means they will now come and start doing amendments. Like, what are we going to achieve in that time? But the point is, what they are fighting for is also, like I already mentioned this morning, what we are learning with the level of education is continually degrading at the university because what you have to teach these students is like it doesn't make it's just so small what is at your disposal to teach them. So at the end of the day, I can't even say this is the only lasting solution we can have to this ASU issue is if we actually have a government that is sincere, that will promise them something and actually deliver. And all of us know that that is more like us asking for God to come down at this point in Nigeria for us to have a sincere government that will say and do it. So it's just a dilemma really because it's more like we do it after 6 months they give them something small, maybe they give them for 1 month and we come back to it's a circle. So it's just draining for me at this point. I don't even see the end in sight.
And we're getting into what we call elections eve. 2022 is a pre-election year, and trust me, once the first quarter hits, a lot of people's priority will begin to shift. You understand me? Mhm. There are some people that their presidential aspiration will be known by January. There are some people that they start talking about tickets that they're trying to pick the party ticket. So it's not going to be too good to have a disrupted system, you know. And sometimes, if you look at it, people are being funded to go to university, and their funding model is not the same with everyone. Some people is community funded, and the community have projections. So if if you if you look at it, some people didn't plan that some things will extend beyond the timeline where they will support a student, and even those who have been on scholarships too. There are many things that I don't know. I'm thinking very soon um, schools will be running, and it's the students that will go on strike. And when the students go on strike, then the lecturers will understand how it feels. I don't know, but seriously, as well. Thank you, Mohammed Kamara, for joining. It's an iTrain Africa mentee. Fantastic. Thank you for joining. And still on the matter that we are having, I want us to look at another headline. We've talked about the ASU strike. Rocha's Foundation is now in Calabar, by the way. But then there's some headline that says lack of funds. 18% of students drop out of Nigerian tertiary institution. This is from Metilelu. Right. Any thoughts on that, Demi?
Well, dropping out, I'm not sure about, well, they probably did their research about their statistics. However, I would say when it comes to us being in the south, as in the southern part of Nigeria, I'm not sure the statistics will be valid, because like it's most likely not due to lack of funds, like in the southern part or something, not because you have more money, but somehow it seems like we we go to school, and not necessarily based on we are expecting some state fund or something. However, in other parts of the country, it is very possible. And this is when we are looking at, and another thing is when you say tertiary institutions, it's definitely when you start looking at, let me say, polytechnics and NCE and all those things. Of course, that statistics will most likely hold, because most of the time people that are going to, let me say, NCE, they're already constrained with funds. And some of them are just hoping to say, oh, let me get into school first. I'll look for a way of funding myself and all those things. So for universities, you may not find it prevalent as in or as high as this number. But for polytechnics and all those things, they pay money. As in, I was shocked, as in I found out about the amount of money they pay at all these something of education. I was shocked because we at Unilag, we are paying maybe, ridiculous amount of money. And those that are even getting in quotes the education that is lesser than ours are paying a lot of money. As in state schools, college of education, they are paying a lot of money. Like some of them 200,000, and we are paying like how much? Maybe 50,000 naira or thereabout at Unilag, or even less. So for those institutions, I don't know. It's the people that don't have money that go there, and they charge them more for it.
So, well, honestly, I think that let's hear from Olushola. Probably Olushola will have something to say about that. Olushola Lumbe.
Yes, thank you. Uh, I don't know whether you've also seen the dynamics why more people go to that place. It appears to be less competitive. Now, if you want to compete with people going to Unilag, you know what it will cost you. If you don't score 300, 290, you may not go. But some of these places with 170, you are allowed to come in. I think that is what makes more people patronize the place, hoping that, well, I will sort out myself, buy and buy, but along the line, some of them may not be able. But in the real sense of it, it still calls to the fact that government needs to look at the case of funding education. I've spoken about ASU trying to go on strike. For how long? I overheard them say, in fact, from time immemorial. And I think it's almost a yearly thing. And if they don't hold the government by the jugular in the penultimate year to penultimate year to the election, government appears to be more reasonable and they listen to the voice of the masses. It's about the only time You can easily talk to them and they can hear you. Once they come into power after the first 2 years, you are just on your own, you know. They have nothing to recourse to you for. So I think ASUTU is being strategic. That everything put together talks about the need to fund education more. Like Olatunde posted there, if you open the gate of the school, you close the door of the prison, and vice versa. If you don't want to continue to sit on the keg of gunpowder, I think government should stop paying lip service to funding education appropriately. Thank you.
Let me not say what came to my mind. Because what if the plan is to build more prisons? What if the agenda is to build more prisons?
It will be why we that does nobody any good. You know now.
Oh my goodness. Titi, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Morning, everyone. Everyone to me, everyone.
Titi, your network. And welcome Ugochi Safety Chick, all the way from the New York City.
Good morning, Mr. Ritimi. Good morning, everybody. It's I said I should come and greet everybody.
Ugochi, welcome. Oh. Keep representing very well. Oh. It's good to hear your voice. In fact, you are one of the people I've thought about this show face here now. Maybe we don't see you go.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, well, it is what it is. And, it is what it is. Okay, so let's just move to the conversation of the day. I think the headlines would also snowball into that. So we're talking about education that matters. Education that matters. That's very important, you know. So, and I believe that it's almost just calling us to the question of saying, what really should be? What should we pursue? What should we have? You know, how should it be? You know, and I like Derry to open the floor for us. Education that matters. What is education that really matters?
I think we should start from in today's world, what is education? For me, I always look at education in the sense of anything that you are consuming that you can use to get results in terms of maybe employment or whatever is what education is. And it doesn't have to be in a structured environment or anything that you can consume that is going to help your being entirely is education that is going to help your outputs generally. Whether you are getting education to learn how to communicate or whatever, it is going to improve who you are. It's going to self develop you. Now, education that matters, I always say it like any education that you get and it doesn't reflect on you, like you are not educated. Any education you get that the only thing you can show for it is a paper to say you have that education. And I was like, really? Like you went to school or you are like you did digital marketing. If that is the only thing that certifies or that says you did that thing, like I can't see it, then you were not educated in that thing, irrespective of what the certificate you have for it says. And I believe that until we are able to move our focus to be self-learners or lifelong learners and recondition our mind to what education really is and what it should be used for, then we will not, like, we will keep staying back in acquiring the education that doesn't matter. and leaving the one that really matters. And it saddens me because I know the amount of emails we got at iTrain Africa asking us if they are getting certificates for a conference or getting certificates for the mentorship program. And this was even before the selection. That was their focus, different countries. And I asked, if I give you a certificate, what does it do for you? And most of them were stuck. I said, what does it do for you? Because it doesn't matter. What I'm trying to teach you is so that you can have increased output. And that output is what is going to translate into wealth, impact, and whatever it is you are chasing in your life. So any education that doesn't translate to results, that I can't see it as a tangible in what you do, in how you act. Maybe, oh, I am saying your English is bad. You may not have to go to school, but if I teach you how to speak that English, and I can already say that is the kind of education that matters because I'm seeing it. I can see it, it's translating. Or I'm educating my child on attitude. You don't do like this, you don't throw tantrums. Do I get it? I'm a mother that teaches a child every day. That is the kind of education that matters. That means I should be getting the certificate for teaching behavior in my like. It has to translate. That is the way I say it. It has to translate for me. It has to be visibly seen in acts, in everything, in deliverables at work, in whatever. It has to be seen. Any education, I'll keep saying it. You attend a webinar today, tomorrow, next tomorrow, you are piling it. You are not implementing. You are not educated. It's just you're a library. It's in your head. You must translate it. That is for me, education that matters, translation to work or to attitude.
All right. I love the way you introduced that. I would like Olusola to also, touch up on that.
Thank you, Darren, for that. I wouldn't know how long it will take us to reorientate our people. It's quite unfortunate. I am of the opinion that the purpose of education is to make the mind, not certificate. When we reverse the role, education becomes dysfunctional. And we have seen that a lot of time in our space. And people wants to show for the certificate. People are asking you for all kinds of certificates, only for you people to get to interview and they begin to lament the graduates are unemployable. It was because we produced them to be unemployable. I think when we play less on certificate, it will help us to be more intentional about what we are learning. We'll put our mind, we'll put our being into what we are learning. We soak it in at our pace, a little per time, that when you close your eyes, you can do that thing. Not like becoming a library where you cram something and putting it into practice or aligning it with a real life situation is not there. And that's why a lot of things had gone wrong with our society. Whether soft skill or otherwise, we should know that education that matters is the education that makes you a better being. That same education making you a better being will make you to make your environment to be better. And there are many things to be overhauled for an average African's mind or setting. So for me, I will demand that we should seek on expertise more instead of seeking on the certification. If certification comes, fine. If it doesn't come, But for me, over time, I think one of the driving thing behind me is I told people, even in the days of undergraduate, I said, see, if I graduate with a first class out of this place, my personality should be greater than my paper. And I have been to places, and that is why if you check my profile, you will not see written on my profile whether I have a BSc, MSc, or a PhD. It is deliberate. If you read through my profile, you won't see any educational qualification there. But then I leave it to my audience. I leave it to people judging me, that the way you are looking at me, do I look like somebody who have been through an institution? But if I just reel out different this one, even there are many professional certificates, you only collect the certificate and pay, not that you were trained for anything. And beneath our name is something so long that is almost breaking the internet. AFFC, TFM, MIT, this all kinds of something. Why that may not be wrong? The question is this: if you are called in question, as far as that area is concerned, will you deliver? So until we shift and begin to help the younger generation to know that proficiency is better, I think I want to stop there so that others will talk. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So let's take it to Safety Chick. Safety Chick being a recipient of several several dimensions of layers of education, both formal, semi-formal, informal, and all that. I'd like to hear our thoughts, because what should really matter when it comes to education? Safety Chick, over to you.
Okay, so first of all, I'll just start with Darren's definition of that. You are not educated, you are a library. That was so funny. But it was very apt. And then also um uh, the other our very last speaker now, who just mentioned that the things behind our names wants to break the internet. And that's also very funny, but also very pointing to the fact that we should actually be focusing on the content and not all those externalities. And so for me, that is what would make an education that matters, education that is usable. It's not just for you to learn something. Are you able to use it in your day-to-day life? Are you able to use it to solve problems? Are you able to use it to make life better, really? So if you are not able to use it, then I really don't think it matters. And as I was just speaking, I remember that when I was in secondary school, I used to ask myself, some of these things that we are studying in maths, are we going to use it in future? Like, then there is this concept of Brownian motion, science students will know Brown emotion. So are we really going to use this thing in the future? But the thing is, for those in the sciences will tell you that there is a place for all those things that they have learned, and that as they go, they get to use it. And so that's actually what is important, that whatever education that you are getting, whether it's through formal settings or informal settings, you get to work with it. And many times we keep on having people who just want to attend all these things so that they can have certificates, just so that they can say, oh, I have done this. But that's not enough. It should be such that you can use it. And that's why one of the things I always propose people is that when you learn something, try to ask yourself, what can I, what is the, what can I do with this knowledge I have gotten right now? How can I use it right away? Because when you get knowledge, education, and then you are able to use it right away, it even solidifies that knowledge in your system, as opposed to if I'm just alerting this comment. Yeah, they want to break the internet, everything. Yeah, so as opposed to just having a knowledge that you are not able to use, you can't really translate it to usable form. And that's why you keep on having situations where somebody might say, oh yes, this person has all the certifications, but I'd rather go with this one who has, should I say, more practical experience, and who has maybe created something or has actually solved something. Because at the end of the day, what people want is results. How does all this education you have acquired, how does it translate to the bottom line? If there is no way for it to translate, then it looks as if it's useless. But it will not be useless if you are able to convert it to usable form. And then I would just have to add that converting something to usable form would vary from person to person, because a scientist, the way a scientist will convert something to usable form may not be understood by a day-to-day person, but to his real target audience, it is usable. So when they bring out all those their research documents and blah, 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 you and I may not necessarily understand it or see how valuable it is, but to their scientific community, they have done fantastic. And so I just wanted to also clarify that when something is usable, it also varies from target audience to target audience. Yeah, so that's what I was just saying.
Thank you so much for that. And it reminds me of a particular session I went to. I had a client that requested my availability and my service. And they were now like, "Oh, send us a profile, put up some of these things that you have done, and let's have all those qualifications." They kept on stressing qualification, certification. I know when your qualification and certification is in the same picture, it means something. So I said, okay, no problem. You want, okay, fine. So I put some things beside my name. They don't know the meaning. Me, I know the meaning. So and I read something, and I purposed and I did. I can't let me remember one of the ones I put. I put I put I think ACIG beside my name, right? Uh, yes, it was ACIG or something like that. So then I said, what's that? What's that? In my mind, because there's a lot of noise in that. So I just mentioned that no, it's an associateship that I have, from my expertise. Now, it's an associateship that I have from my expertise. I did say from a university. I did not learn. It's my expertise. What is ACIG? If I tell you, you will all laugh. I just pick components of the things I do and I put it there. At least for that, I'm not a master on it at that time. I'm an associate on it. You understand? And everybody was applauding. Oh, he has so many some. I just gave them what they needed to hear. But sometimes listening to what Ugochi said, it, it's important that we know that conversion is our responsibility. If a senior friend of mine, maybe I'll ask Titi that question. A senior friend of mine was all about, nobody should actually take on honorary doctorate degree. Some of these things that you see people before you know it. You even mentioned Benin, Togo, that they're giving. There was even one that was offered so many years ago. There was one that was offered in Cameroon, and there was one that was offered that is in Dubai. It was a university in America, but the program was going to be in Dubai. And for a while, people tend to look at it that what should we do? And then it's like everybody's now feeling like, oh, the real doctors don't put doctor or PhD in their names. It's the ones that get the honorary doctorate degree. Tita, I would like you to speak to that because I have a different opinion, especially following what Ugochi said. We can never use one size fits all for people. I think that if you've done well and you've gotten recognition, there's nothing wrong in taking an honorary of international water. So over to you, Titi, your mic. Over to you. Oh, Titi, your network. Wow. Titi, your network. Oh, you're fighting internet. You're here. While we wait for Titi, I want to hear your thoughts, Darren. Let's hear your thoughts on that subject matter. Doctorate, no doctorate, honorary, and the like.
Honorary Salsa. Okay. For me, I feel people do it these days, or people even solicit for it so that they could be at par with like it's more like people are aging or they are getting older and they feel like I can't go and get a doctorate degree again or something. But I like the way they call people doctor. I want to put it on my social media and say I'm doctor something. And because of that, is the intention behind it that baffles me. And why I say it baffles me is, especially for those that they stylishly solicit for it, in the sense that you will see people these days, they know that, oh, maybe if I go and donate something to that university and say, oh, they build a block or something, even toilets in my day. The university, when they're thinking about their honorary, like it is a give and take thing, they will call me. And it happens almost like every other time, every year now. You see celebrities musicians, actors, actresses being conferred honorary doctorate degrees in this thing recognition. I'm like, they've not conferred it on some people that you know that yes, even if they didn't go to like school or whatever, like their level of like what they've achieved is enough to like there is a university degree. I mean, there's a PhD degree in their head based on their years of experience in their industry, right? There's a PhD degree. They could teach it at the PhD level, what their experience. So if they give such people honoris causa, fine, because you know they have PhD knowledge. So if somebody doesn't have a PhD level of knowledge, in the terms of the number of years they spent, their ability to carry out research in their industry, to talk with statistics, they don't deserve it and they shouldn't be given, irrespective of the amount of money they have or the kind of influence they have in the society. Honoris causa, even if it is honorary, it means you have PhD level of knowledge in your head. So if they give you, ask yourself, do I have PhD level of knowledge? If you don't, you are not deserving.
Okay, so you brought a twist to it. It's about deserving, it's about the motive, right? It's not
Yeah.
necessarily about, because we also recognize that universities are run under their own, they're run under their own, how do you call it? There's something I wanted to say, but because for some people, they have to get, there's provision for it. So it's not a crime. I think we should also be careful how they should not see things as a crime. Just as much as when life coaching was almost the order of the day for a lot of people. Life coach, life coach. A lot of people started NLP, 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 and some people it was just social status. It was just checklist. For some people, it was because they wanted to use it to be able to train. For some people, because they needed to validate, their training. But we will all have reasons why we do different things. You understand? It's just that you must show that with whatever it is, you can defend it, right? That's what I think. Because if we're not privy to people's game plan, I don't think that we are right to pass judgment on them, even if they buy it. You know, if you audit on other professionals and experts, if you audit their life and their lifestyle and their path, are they not also guilty of the same? People buy visas, people buy appointments, people buy relocation. So how is that much lesser a crime? Over to Titi. Titi, I'm sure Titi's network is better now. Titi, your network is taking ice cream. Maybe you should type type your response in the chat. Your network needs to go on a diet. We can't hear you. Ugochi, let's go to Ugochi. We have August New
Yes, sir.
York visitor, November visitor. So Ugochi, you're already looking like you're not a Nigerian. No your pictures. Just looks like I want Africa. Don't forget where your brother, where your peeps, huh? Even your English is changing. You get me.
Hey, God, I'm still speaking normal.
Okay. So yes, still on education that matters, right? I would like you to just, say something that probably a regulator out there, someone in charge of the administrative bodies, should listen to and glean from, as we're about to bring the show to a close. What would that counsel be?
Okay, so I'll just say that as the world keeps evolving and the future of work is here, it's really important that as regulators, when we're thinking about the future of education of children in this country, we are also thinking of how they can get education that is going to be useful for them so that they can be at par with their own counterparts in other parts of the world. And so bringing that to real terms would mean if we need to revamp some of our courses subject. And revamping does not totally mean maybe we need to totally overhaul the entire curriculum. It might just be as simple as just maybe adding some things here, removing some things there, changing the form in which something is taught. So if, for example, something is always taught in maybe just textbook format, how about to make it a field trip or a lab experiment or something, so bringing that diversity into what we currently have, and that would ensure that we're equipping our children to have the education that really matters, because at the end of the day, we do not want them to learn something and when they come out of school they are not able to use it in any form and any manner. That would just look like we just wasted their time. And I do not think that a time spent in education should be a time that is wasted. It should be something that really adds value to the child. I mean, I saw a video some days ago that Dr. Rhoda put on Instagram about Adele, how she was talking so much about the impact her teacher had made in her. She won't be talking so confidently at that time if what she experienced was not valuable. And so I want our regulators to always bear in mind that these children are in they are in that formative stage. And so it's really important that the things we're pouring into them at this point is critical in the long run. That is
I just saw Olatudadebayo's comment. He's probably wearing the hat of an activist today. Olatudadebayo. Hello, can you hear me now? Okay. So, Olusola Olumide, let's hear your thoughts. I would like you to speak to the students this time around. Education that really matters. Education that matters. What's the perspective to the average students out there? What should they do?
Well, thank you. I want our student, number one, they should have it at the back of their mind to seek expertise, proficiency, learner. And then don't compare yourself. I want them
Hello? Okay, Derry. Um, Seems network is really plaguing us today.
It's playing it. I was most of the time I was just thinking, is it me or is it?
So
is it
I will tell our students, please keep learning, keep improving, find your domain of strength, work on it, and don't just that you failed. That doesn't mean you're a failure. It's a learning curve. An achiever. So keep learning, keep improving. Every step of the way, make sure you pick something as you go. Along the line, it will connect. The dots will add up to make you who you really need to be. So keep learning, don't give up.
Okay, we're not giving up. Thank you, Olusola Olumide, as he's not giving up on internet. He's back again. So, Derry, over to you. Let's have your last words.
Okay, this will be my last words. In as much as you're supposed to be acquiring education that matters, you should always know that there is also a place for chance. I'm such a person that if, for instance, I don't have plans to maybe acquire specific knowledge, maybe it's not maybe I don't need that course or that particular thing to go and if, for instance, the only thing is I'm a well planned person. Like I have plans for maybe even 4 or 5 years. Like I have, like, let me say, a 10 years plan for I Train Africa. So it means that I understand that those things, they are in my nearest future. So when I see a human being or a person or something that they are offering that maybe I necessarily don't have to pay for to get that kind of knowledge, I may not need it for now. I may need it for next 10 years. It means that if I have the time, if I have the time then and I'm not doing any other thing, I take that education and I put it on my reserve because it helps me to start thinking about that thing maybe for the next 2 years, next 3 years. I begin to have some form of residual knowledge. Probably because I'm a multi-potentialite, I do that a lot. I have things that might at the back of my burner that I'm just like fanning. So it is not always a bad thing to say, oh, education that matters is what you use now. The only thing you should always have is like projection. So when the kind of education you need for now or maybe for the nearest future comes your way, you know to get it and when exactly to utilize it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Gochi, for dropping in. We appreciate it. We miss you. And thank you, Lushala Olumide. Thank you, Titi, for coming in as well. Thank you, Dr. Derry. And thank you to everyone. Mohammed, thank you. Ayobolanle, I know. Thank you. Olatunde Adebayo, thank you. Who else again? To all those who watched and who watched the replay, thank you as well. We're signing off now with our usual, and we're going to say this after the count of 2. 1, 2, go.
It's
It's always
Always
a,
a great
a great
morning
morning on
on
a
the
the
good
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 morning.
morning,
morning
Edu.
education show.
Bye.
Bye.
Get you. Bye.
Bye.